The year is 1792. The United States is still a nervous collection of newly independent settlements, connected less by shared ideology and more by the single, steady rhythm of the post-rider's horse. The mail was not a matter of speed, but of meticulous, painstaking routine. Consider Samuel Bassett, a post-rider responsible for the route between Boston and the modest, sleepy town of New London, Connecticut. His journey was a study in methodical slowness. The official postal regulations detailed the requirements for his equipment with an almost absurd level of precision. A saddle of tanned calfskin, a mail pouch made of durable leather with 3 separate locking compartments, one for letters, one for newspapers, and one for official government dispatches. And a heavy wool cloak required regardless of the season to protect the documents from the relentless elements. Samuel's main task was consistency, not haste. He knew every loose stone and every drooping branch along the 100-mile stretch. His schedule demanded that he arrive at the New London post office, which was in reality just the back parlor of Mrs. Elvira Finch's general store, precisely at 4:15 p.m. every Tuesday. The deviation of even 10 minutes required a written explanation to the Postmaster General in Philadelphia. As Samuel rode, the world outside was quiet. His journey was a lulling sequence of sounds. The soft, rhythmic thud-thud-thud of his horse's hooves on the dirt road, the slight creak of the leather straps holding the heavy mailbag, and the occasional gentle rustle of leaves in the vast, undeveloped tracts of land. His focus was entirely on the contents of the mailbag. Each package had been meticulously sorted hours before his departure. Letters sealed with wax and stamped with the faint, smudged ink of the departure office, governmental notices written in dense, spidery script, and newspapers filled with weeks-old international news. Upon arrival, the ritual was equally subdued. Mrs. Finch would unlock the first compartment with a large brass key, count the letters one by one, and record the exact number in a ledger, a large book with columns for the date, the destination, and the number of sheets of paper. This wasn't about drama. It was about dry, endless bureaucracy and the slow, quiet expansion of a national network, one monotonous step after another. It was the unhurried, almost boring foundation upon which the entire country would eventually be built. For decades, time in America was a chaotic, localized affair. Every city, every county operated on its own local time, set by the sun's highest point. A system that worked well for farmers but was a nightmare for commerce. However, it was the relentless expansion of the railroad network that finally forced a silent, massive shift in the American consciousness. This was not a revolution of gunfire, but of clocks. The problem was simple. A train traveling from Buffalo to Chicago could pass through dozens of different time zones, each causing confusion, delays, and occasional costly accidents. The solution, implemented on a quiet Sunday morning on November 18, 1883, was the creation of 4 standardized railway time zones: Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. The process of coordination was surprisingly dry and mathematical. It involved committees of engineers and astronomers who calculated the precise longitudinal arc required for each new zone. They debated the exact minute deviation from Greenwich Mean Time, meticulously documenting their findings in large, leather-bound manuals filled with complex, yet strangely soothing arithmetic. The change was executed not through government decree, but through the monotonous mailing of precise typed memos to thousands of railroad station masters across the country. Imagine the scene in the remote, sparsely populated town of Ogden, Utah, which sat precisely on the border of the newly designated Mountain and Pacific time zones. The station master, Mr. Elias Thorne, received a thick envelope containing the official instructions. He had to perform a simple yet profoundly important act:
At exactly noon, local time, on that specific Sunday, he would stop the large, heavy pendulum of the station's clock and then adjust the minute hand forward by a precise 60 minutes. The sound in the station would have been nothing but the faint, almost imperceptible tick-tock of the clock before its suspension, followed by the brief, sharp click as the minute hand was moved, and then the recommencement of the slow, steady rhythm of the pendulum. This was the true, unsung sound of modernization, a quiet, bureaucratic click that instantly aligned thousands of schedules, from the massive 440 locomotives to the smallest town's freight depot. It was a change so vast, yet so silently executed, that many small communities simply woke up to find their official time had shifted by an hour, without a single fanfare or dramatic speech. The only constant was the steady, measured beat of the railway timetable.
Following the chaos of local and state-named highways, trails often poorly marked and sometimes arbitrarily named after local dignitaries, the United States realized it needed a unified, logical system for its burgeoning network of roads. This led to the creation of the Federal Road Numbering System in the 1920s, a bureaucratic exercise in calm, mathematical order across the vast American landscape. The beauty of the system lay in its deliberate, almost soothing consistency. The key rule was a matter of basic parity. North-south routes were assigned odd numbers, like US 1 or US 99, and east-west routes were assigned even numbers, like US 30 or US 66. Furthermore, the numbers were laid out in a logical progression. The lowest odd numbers, US 1, started in the east, and the numbers got higher as you moved west. Conversely, the lowest even numbers, US 2, started in the north, increasing as you moved south. The standardization was carried out by the American Association of State Highway Officials, ASHO, through long, methodical committee meetings held in quiet, windowless conference rooms. The engineers and officials spent countless hours poring over large, complex maps, drawing lines with long rulers and colored pencils, arguing over where precisely US 50 should cross US 41. There was no drama, only the meticulous application of a system designed to be unchanging and reliable. The physical implementation of this new order was a quiet, repetitive task assigned to small, dedicated painting crews. In the mid-1920s, these men, often working in silence, drove slow trucks loaded with white paint and stencils across thousands of miles of dusty, lonely roads. Their job was to paint the new route numbers directly onto any available surface: telephone poles, wooden fence posts, or concrete bridge railings. Imagine a man named Walt, sitting on the side of a newly graded road in rural Nebraska. The most prominent sound is the slow, steady scrape of his brush as he carefully applies the thick white paint to a telephone pole, outlining the number 30 with patient precision. It was a monotonous, yet nation-building task. Every stroke of the brush was a commitment to future consistency. This repetitive, almost hypnotic labor of mapping and marking, the silent imposition of a numerical grid onto the vast wilderness, was the true essence of the project, creating a boring, predictable consistency designed to guide millions of travelers with minimal confusion, allowing them to travel vast distances in perfect, tranquil anonymity.